This is the Demystifying Crypto and Building Wealth podcast.
I knew that would be worth trillions.
That had never existed in human history. There's been massive opportunities.
The #1 podcast to help you understand and get insights into the crypto world, blockchain technology, wealth building, and financial investing. Now, here's your host, Tico Tawari, the world's #1 most trusted cryptocurrency analyst and Wall Street veteran with decades of experience in the financial space.
Welcome, Big T here. Really looking forward to today's live and to talk about what's going on. I'm sure some people are clutching their pearls wondering, oh my good Lord, what is happening in the world of crypto? Why isn't it just going up in a straight line the way that we want it to? So if you're having those kind of thoughts go through your mind, today is going to be an important broadcast for you. So we'll just give folks a couple of minutes to come on, and then we will get things kicked off. Okay, so we've seen Bitcoin drop from a high of around 74K to as low as 53 and change, trading at 58 and change right now. And, you know, if I had hair, I could make a joke about my hair being on fire. Now, back in the old days, my hair would catch fire, metaphorically, of course, and, I'd freak out. Why don't I freak out anymore? I'm going to say a lot of things that I've said before, but I repeat myself because it's easy to forget these important points when you're in the midst of volatility. You always have to ask yourself, when you are playing a cyclical trend, which Bitcoin is, it moves in cycles. It doesn't move in a linear fashion going up all the time. It has periods when it's in an uptrend and periods when it's in a downtrend. And they're pretty well defined. So you have to ask yourself, where am I in this uptrend? Am I early uptrend, early to mid uptrend, late mid uptrend, late trend, and late trend? It's very important because there are times when you should panic based on the market action, when you should hit the sell button based on the market action. I'm not going to tell you that you should be calm during all things, but it is dependent upon where you are in the cycle. Is that clear? Does everybody get that? Just give me, I wish we could interact a bit more so I could get a yes. So as you know, the halving was a little more than 2.5 months ago. Well, in 10 days, it'll be 3 months. So this puts us very early cycle relative to how long the cycle goes upwards from the halving, which means that a lot of the volatility we can safely ignore. It doesn't really matter. If you go back to 2017, post-halving, you had multiple down moves of 30%, 38%, 32%, 30%, 28%, 29%, 36%, multiple. I think there were at least 5 or 6 of them, and none of them mattered. They only mattered if you used them as a buying opportunity. That's what they were there for. The volatility within the first year of a Bitcoin halving is a gift. And you have to use that gift in a couple of ways. 1, buy more Bitcoin, or 2, buy altcoins. Now, as you know, I recently launched I'm going to shill a little bit here, okay? Come on, you had to know that I was going to do a little bit of selling. I launched my paid newsletter service in June because I knew from previous cycles that the market would be weak. Now, why would I launch a commercial enterprise when I know the market is going to be weak? Because I want to buy the coins cheap for my subscribers. Because if I wait until the market is booming, those coins will be an order of magnitude higher. And at the end of the day, I've told you this many times, I'm already rich. I like money. Let me be very clear. I'm a capitalist. But I'm not going to come to you when I can necessarily make the most amount of money and sell the most amount of newsletters. Because it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't move the needle on my net worth enough for it even to be a consideration. What I have learned is that I make more money if I help you make as much money as possible. So there's short-term greed and there's long-term greed. I'm not a saint. I am a capitalist, but I'm a long-term capitalist. My belief is if I can add massive value to my readers, if I can help my readers achieve their financial goals, guess what? I'm going to make a ton of money doing that. And for me, that is my form of capitalism. Add massive value, and value comes back to you. And so this is the reason why when I do these events, I do them during market uncertainty. Now, does it hurt my response rates? Does it hurt the amount of people that come on board? Yes, it does. But, that's okay. I know that over time, if I'm doing everything in my power to help people make better decisions, how can I not automatically grow my own wealth? It's just that it's relying on these universal laws that work for a reason. And it took me a long time to figure that out. When I worked on Wall Street, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but when I worked on Wall Street, self-centered, greedy, didn't think about anybody else except myself and my own needs, because that is what everybody else did around me. And I was a young, impressionable boy, and I didn't know any better. It took me hitting a wall emotionally, financially, spiritually, for me to realize I couldn't live like that it just wasn't a way to live. And then when I changed and I said, okay, just do everything in your power to help your customer, to help your client, and just rely that by doing that, you're automatically going to make more money. And I did. And I started making more money than I ever made before. So my point is, if you are feeling some type of fear about joining me or joining my new newsletter and waiting for the market to get better, that is a mistake. And so right now, I'm still offering 2 years for the price of one. You can go to 500xcoin.com. That offer ends this week. And I'm not going to offer that again. So this is a special offer that I'm doing for people that are joining me now. And this is my own brand new company, Tawari Research Group. And so this week, you can still get 2 years for the price of one. So if you haven't joined yet, I strongly urge you to join. We have coins that we're recommending right now that have been beaten up, and this is the perfect time to buy them when the market is down and depressed. And this is how we take advantage of these pullbacks. So let's talk, okay, that's my commercial over. Let's talk a little bit about this pullback and what's driving this pullback. So this pullback is being driven by Germany selling, I think, over $3 billion worth of Bitcoin, and the Mt. Gox claims are finally being paid out. I think that's another $7 to $9 billion worth of Bitcoin. And the U.S. government has also been selling about $250 million worth of its Bitcoin stash. So let's look at how the market's been taking that. Bitcoin and crypto assets are unlike other assets in that we have complete transparency in terms of what other participants are doing. When institutions want to sell $12 billion worth of Apple, we do not know that they have moved their shares over to an account where those shares are going to be sold. So we never had that transparency in the stock market. But we do have that transparency in Bitcoin. So my point is that the market knows that selling is there. And yes, the price has come down, but the price has not collapsed. The buyers are there. Even though they know there's billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin to be sold, they're still willing to pay $58,000, $59,000, $57,000, $56,000, $60,000 for their Bitcoin. Now, speaking selfishly, I am hoping that Bitcoin rolls over, goes down to the 52K level, which on the Bitcoin futures chart is where the 200-day moving average is. And I would love to buy another $500,000 or $1 million worth of Bitcoin for myself down at that level. Will we see it? I don't know. But I want you to be emotionally prepared for 52K if we see it, and I want you to be financially prepared for 52K. If we see 52K, I think you should buy it if it makes sense to you financially. I will be buying should we see 52K. When we pull back in through, slice through that 62K area, I was a buyer. I, as you know, I buy in tranches. So I bought there, and then my next tranche will be at 52 if we see it. And we might, right? We might get some kind of capitulation event, and we might see that. It all depends really how much Bitcoin the Mt. Gox holders sell. Now, here's the thing. We don't know how much of that Mt. Gox holdings is actually going to the original individuals, because people have been selling their Mt. Gox claims for years. I'm invested in a hedge fund that has been buying Mt. Gox claims for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, maybe more than that. So it will be interesting to see, because at least with the hedge funds that I know that are buying claims, you know, they're in no hurry to sell that Bitcoin. You know, they're looking for, I mean, I'm looking for 150K Bitcoin. These people are looking for 300, 400, 500K Bitcoin from this run. So I don't think they're going to be very heavy sellers down at this level. So it'll be interesting to see. My point is, though, we are beneath resistance. There is a lot of resistance. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to look at that on the chart. Could we see 52? Yes, we could see 52. If we see 52, the alts will bleed, and you need to buy into that. You need to buy into that should it happen. So if you're long alts right now and we go to 52, we're going to see lower prices, and that's okay. I cannot tell you how many times I had to deal with volatility in 2020 on altcoins that I recommended that got demolished over the short term, because of things that I could not foresee, like COVID. But on some of them we bought more, others we held, and then as the bull market progressed, they went up dramatically. So I can never ever get the exact bottom and the exact top, but what I focus on, rather than getting on a perfect price, is a great price. Now, a great price within the context of the holding period. And generally, these bull markets last between 12 and 18 months. So if I buy something, for instance, I'll give you an example, Ethereum. I recommended Ethereum at $8 or $9, went to 20, and then dropped to 6. So, for people that were in, and we had to buy up to $20. So people that bought at 20 and watched it drop to 6, that's terrible timing, Tawari. But throughout that entire bull run, we went from 20 to over 1,300. So my point is, on any given day, yes, I can look. The markets can make me look like a complete idiot. But what matters is where are we buying in that cycle, and where does it go across the cycle? And the point that I want to hammer over today is that we are early cycle. And even if you buy an altcoin today and it drops precipitously, don't worry, because we are early cycle. Early cycle. That won't always be true. As we get deeper into the cycle, really, really, really good timing matters much, much more. But when you're early cycle, timing, it doesn't matter as much. What matters more is actually being in the market to catch that big wave up that comes. And that's going to come. So another thing I want to point to is regulatory clarity. I'm not going to get too deep into this because it is pretty wonky. But there was a big Supreme Court decision, and they ended what's called the Chevron Doctrine in June. And the Chevron Doctrine was a defense that gave American regulators enormous latitude in how they interpreted the law. And the Supreme Court has said, no, you can't have that much latitude. You've got to kick it back to Congress, and Congress has to make specific rules as it relates to how these rules should be interpreted. So again, very wonky stuff. What's the point of that? The point is that this will bring a lot of heat off crypto. The SEC is going to have to back down on a lot of its enforcement actions against things like Uniswap. It's already backed down from consensus because they have been essentially making up their interpretation of the rules as they go along. And now with this ruling that has come down from the Supreme Court, they will no longer be allowed to do that. And that is incredibly bullish for crypto because it removes regulatory uncertainty. And institutional capital hates regulatory uncertainty. And so what this will do, I believe, is it will give institutional capital allocators more comfort about allocating one to the asset and allocating in larger size. And that's wildly bullish. And it's not priced in to Bitcoin. It's not priced into ETH. It's not priced into the altcoin market at all. So, and then one last piece is it looks like that we're going to get an ETH approval. I think ETH is undervalued here. I think it's going to go much, much higher. If you don't own any, you should own some. And to me, as I pull back the camera, the catalyst moving forward for greater institutional adoption continues to be highly supportive of much higher prices ahead. And again, any short-term volatility should be treated as a gift and as an opportunity. Of course, you've got to be rational with your position sizes. This is crypto. I think you can always have a bigger position in Bitcoin and ETH, given their relative positions in the market. But with altcoins, any altcoin can go to zero. So just have that in your mind and be aware of that as you position size into altcoins. If this went to zero, could I handle it? Which is why I suggest if you're a smaller investor, $200 to $500 for altcoin investments. If you're a bigger investor, $500 to $1,000. These altcoins can move so much. You don't need to have a massive allocation to them. Okay, friends, I think that's about it. That's quite a bit of content in 20 minutes. Any questions before I close? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be doing these IG Lives for. ETH Spot ETF later this month. I hope so. But we're going to get an ETH Spot ETF, at some point this year. Where can we buy your subscription? 500xcoin.com. I like Sol. I've recommended Sol. Okay. All right, friends. Thank you so much. And as I always like to say, I want you to always remember, let the game come to you.
So that concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. You can find the show notes on www.tikatiwari.com. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others, talk about it on social media, and leave a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss another episode. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.